Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Q&Ray with me, Ray. I don't. Anywho, so I have Christine with us today. Christine attended a level 1 seminar I taught in Rancho Cucamonga in April of
Yes.
2017. I know that day because I broke up with my ex-girlfriend that weekend, and it was awesome. So good. History. I'll always remember Rancho Cucamonga because I've only worked there once, and that was what happened.
Okay, so you do remember.
I do remember. Anyway, so you relocated to Arizona. In fact, you're actually one of my one of your coach, one of the coaches, or you work with one of the coaches that I've been coaching since um I started this coaches mentoring program 3 years ago, and I met
Yes.
Jeremy at my very
Yes.
first level 1 seminar as a red shirt. So it was my very first
Okay,
year
yeah,
on staff.
I heard about you from Jeremy. We go to a gym out here that we just started, and he had mentioned about you were one of his coaches. And it was funny because that same night he sent me a message. He's like, "Hey, check this out." And it was the where you're offering the first 30 minutes or
Yeah,
the 30 minutes for the free coaching. I was like, "That's amazing." It just kind of worked out.
yeah, it just worked out. So how
Yeah.
can I help you today?
So I have a gym back home that I'm a part of, which is Persistence Culture. It's in Ventura County. We just started about a little over a year ago.
Okay.
That was the hardest part for me to leave California because kind of I was with them, helped them build it, and it was just growing. So came out to Arizona. I was just trying to figure out where I fit in now. I know coaching is a big part of me. Back in California, I coached and I worked a full time job.
Hmm.
Coming to Arizona, um, it was my opportunity to go full time coaching,
Okay.
but I didn't know how that was going to fit in and still be part of persistence
Yeah.
culture back home in California.
Okay.
So we came up with a plan with online.
Hmm.
So that's where my starting point is I'm going to be doing online classes for them through Zoom.
Okay.
So there'll be live classes.
Hmm.
So my biggest thing, I have a lot of questions and, just selling the value of online than in person. And I think you have a lot of experience because you said you had owned a gym and now you do a lot of stuff online. Like, how do you transition from that, from working with people in person and now through a computer?
Yeah, I mean,
Making those connections.
I think the big difference for me was that I went from coaching people in the traditional sense, like in a CrossFit gym, to
Hmm.
now most of my coaching happens more on like the theoretical side of things. So I'm coaching coaches. I don't coach as much movement per se. I would I've actually tried this to do like some Zoom classes with my members on Fridays just to kind of see what it was like because I'd never coached a
Yeah.
fitness class on Zoom. And it's doable. It's you just have to be really good at reading people from across the screen and doing movements that are a little bit easier to judge and to control in a sense. Like so, for example, our class, what we did was we did like handstand hold work and stuff like that. And so a lot
Okay.
of slow moving, a lot of regrouping. Hey guys, what did you feel? Versus just keep going, guys, and awesome. Like it's I could see it really hard teaching a class like that because
Okay.
sometimes people's connections are out of sync, and they might be like a 2 second delay, and then you're trying to coach someone a movement that happened 5 seconds ago.
Yeah.
So that can be really tricky. But with slow moving stuff, we did a lot of isometric holds and a lot of just kind of basic stuff where the goal was more of helping them be aware of their movements versus high intensity stuff. So
Okay.
that's slightly different. I, even like one-on-one coaching, I have friends that are killing it doing the online personal training, 30-minute sessions at a time,
Uh-huh.
and that I don't have a whole lot of experience with.
Okay.
Um, However, I would say just in general that given the climate of the industry right now, I mean
Hmm.
Washington just shut down again. So I
Oh
split my time
no.
between Washington and California.
Okay.
Washington is shut down again. California is back in purple tier, which means you really can't be training inside either. There's all kinds of stuff, and I've been telling the people in my coaches group for months, hey, start thinking about doing something online and figuring out what your niche is. What I will
Okay.
say is I think it's doable. You can make things work, but you have to be really creative and you have to be really engaging because
Okay. Yeah.
it's a very common thing where people just don't want to work out online on Zoom because it's not the same, you know?
Right. I know I think that's one thing I struggle with. I feel like it could, I mean, in my heart, I want it to grow and of course still be able to connect with people. Um, but that's on like how do I keep them engaged?
Yeah,
And then also using the right words because so used to being in person and being able to kind of touch them and put them in the right, form or movement. Now I got to be really good with my words and explaining the movement. So I think that's the tricky part too, is just making sure that that comes through in an effective way.
absolutely. And one of the things that I've been playing around with a lot over the last 2 years, and it's been a real necessity lately, even when we're coaching in person, like at the level one, level two seminars, we're not allowed to do any tactile feedback anymore. It's all verbal, all visual. So, like you
Okay.
said, getting really good at explaining what you want them to do is even more important now. But one of the
Okay.
things that I focus on more as a coach is I focus less on what it looks like and more on what it feels like.
Okay.
You know, like I always tell the story how when I first discovered StrongFit, I've been on seminar staff for 3 years, and I was what I would consider a good demo person. Like I can make the movement look like it's supposed to, but I was always in pain. Like my low back was always messed up, and I found out that I just got really good at compensating. Like I can
Yeah.
make the shape, but I'm not doing the movement correctly. And so what I do now is I start focusing more on helping people feel what they're supposed to feel in their body. So on a
Okay.
squat, you want them to feel that their hamstrings, their glutes. You know, you don't want them to feel their low back, right? That's a pretty
Yeah.
given, easy given. So did you feel your low back? Okay, well we did something wrong. Let's see what we need to do, and help people develop the awareness of what a movement is supposed to feel like, and not necessarily what it's supposed to look like. Because even that being said, when you look at people's like limb lengths and all the things, what it looks like is really not that important because
Yeah.
you might try to force fit someone to look a certain way when they're not meant to move that way. I'll give you a great example. Sage Bergner, okay? So Sage Bergner, I've been working with her dad for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Sage is like 80% legs.
Yes.
And
Just one
I'm
place.
like Chinese, more Chinese in my dimensions and more 50-50. And so for 1 year, we were trying to change my lifting style and in a sense we were trying to match her body type, and it just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And then one day I was like a year in later, I'm like, Sage, take a look at this video. She's like, I like that. I'm like, okay, it doesn't fit what we're trying to do here. As a coach, it was good for me to feel it and to kind of understand what she was doing, but at the same time it wasn't a good fit for me, and it didn't feel right, and I just couldn't make it work. And so
Yeah.
if you try to pigeonhole everyone to look a certain way when they move, you're not going to be very successful, and you might even end up hurting people sometimes if you're forcing them to do a certain way. So all that to be said is, as a coach, it's often more useful to understand what a movement's supposed to feel like and less about what it's supposed to look like,
Okay.
because then you can. And this is where I really believe it's important for coaches to be, is that I want to help people develop independence. I want them to be able to go about their daily life and maybe even work out by themselves, God forbid, and be able to do it correct without them killing themselves.
Right.
Because that's really what we're selling. We're selling wellness, right?
Right. Exactly.
There's so many people out there who are just trying to sell programming and like get people connected on programming. But really, as coaches, we should be selling coaching. And sometimes coaching means that you are helping someone develop independence so they can be better and possibly even better than you.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing right now too that I've kind of seen at like just looking, at other gyms. Like sometimes I feel like it's the fun factor and we're missing the importance of like that one-on-one coaching.
Mhm.
Um, I think sometimes that kind of gets lost in translation. Yes, let's all have fun together. We're in a great community. But I think a lot of that coaching is being lost. And it's super important because we do want people to move well and continue to move well and be members and things like that. So yeah, I definitely see, your point, making sure that all in all that they do move well. I know that's the tricky part with just running this online, is just making sure that I am hitting those key points.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a fine
Also,
balance. It's a very
oh,
fine
go,
balance. You do want people to have fun, but at the same time, you want them to be safe. And
right.
I've been to gyms where they're all fun and there's no good movement.
Yeah.
And if you met me 5 years ago, my gym was kind of, I think it was fun, but I was such a stickler on like everything that I had
Hmm.
like a very, very particular audience who wanted to stay with me because I was such a hard ass on everything. Whereas if you compare me to now to 5 years ago,
Yeah.
I'm a very different coach. So
Do you still coach in person now?
yeah, so
You do. Okay.
well, Washington just shut down, so we're not having classes.
Okay.
But up until this week, I was coaching classes every week. We did level ones, and some states they're still allowing them. Like
Okay.
I just got back from teaching a weightlifting seminar in Philadelphia, or just outside Philadelphia this past weekend. So
Okay.
still coaching in person, but still very much visual and verbal cueing, no tactile cueing. You still got that 6 foot bubble, and you can't really do much.
Yeah.
So
Right. We still, Persistence still has, they actually never stopped their Zoom classes from
okay,
the first shutdown. So there are still a few people that are doing the Zoom,
yep,
that just haven't really felt comfortable with getting back into the gym. Or we also have some people that are in a different state, like we have some people in Miami, some in Temecula. Um, so it's still continuing. I'm taking over as of December 1st, like full force, try to really push
cool,
it. And I just want it to be successful.
yeah,
I want to make sure that I'm able to sell the value and make sure that I am providing the best coaching that I can
mhm,
through Zoom. I'll be going back to California once a month to do some in-person coaching, which
cool,
is cool. So I don't lose that in-person coaching as well, because I love it. This moving to Arizona has allowed me to make a full transition. I used to work full-time job behind a desk for 8 hours, coach in the morning, coach at night,
mhm,
and the only time I was happy was in the morning at night.
yeah.
So now I've just kind of made that full transition to be able to, you know, do it from home and be able to travel back to California and coach there.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Um, well, I mean, in general, the cool thing about coaching online is that you're not bound to your physical location.
Hmm.
Like my coaching business, I have people from all over the world. Like, got a few people in Europe. I had a big following in Brazil for a while, but I don't do that anymore.
Okay.
Most of my people actually are on the East Coast. It's funny. Like, I started my business to serve San Diego. And of my hundred some people that I'm coaching right now, maybe two of them are from San Diego.
I
It's
think I listened to one of your videos. I think it was when you had first started, saying that you want to make sure that if someone asked you like
yeah,
about what gym that they can go to, that your goal was to make sure that you can recommend, anywhere to better these coaches within San Diego. I had listened to that video that you had, and I thought that was super cool.
yeah, and it's cool. I've been able to expand my reach to international and not just being in a small location. So that's one of the cool advantages of being online is you have that flexibility. Um,
Is there any key like things that you can suggest, like to be able to like sell the value of, the importance of the value, to people? I mean, I know you don't do teaching online, well, teaching classes, but you do teach coaches online. Like, how do you really implement the value to that, to those people that you want to coach?
that one is something I'm still working out on my own.
Okay.
It's like it's one of those things that's just like you have to find your people.
Okay.
Some people just are not gonna do it online no matter what you do. Um,
Right.
but I think after we get off the call, I'm gonna connect you with my friend Mike MOB. He's out in
Okay.
Michigan and he's killing the online Zoom coaching game right
Okay.
now. Like
That'd
his
be awesome.
schedule is so full, and I'll give you a couple of tips. I'm sure he won't mind me telling you this right now. Or
Okay.
anyone that's listening to this, I'm sure he doesn't care if I share this because he's such a giver. What he did was he just, and this is just a basic sales tactic. Okay, you take your database, you take your contacts, whoever you know, and like you. And MOB said I started at A, and he's been doing this for like the last several months, and right now his roster is full. He's
Wow.
doing one-on-ones online over Zoom. His roster's full, and in the times in between sessions, he's going through his alphabetical contact list and just going through, and he's still on M.
Okay.
So
Wow.
basically, you reach out, you make connections, you build relationships, and you go from there.
Okay.
In general, from a sales perspective, it always starts with a needs analysis. Like, what do they need?
Okay.
You need to stay active, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't want to put on what the COVID 30 or whatever it is. Like for me, it's been the COVID 20. I've put on 10 kilos since the whole thing started. I'm like heavier than I've ever been in my life, or not heavier in my entire life, but heavier in the last 2 years. So it's like it's a real need, you know, and so just reaching out to people, figuring out what their needs are, and then
Yeah.
whether or not you can meet their needs. You try to set them up with the resources that'll be best for them. So, for example,
Okay.
I am not the best person to talk to you about like online like coaching people through fitness classes because I don't
Okay.
do it, but I will connect you to my friend who does.
Awesome.
So I'll send you that information after we got the call.
Okay.
But
Perfect.
yeah, he'll be a great resource, and I think the big thing is just keep it fun, keep it lighthearted, and figure out a way to create a community with it.
Okay.
Because that's what people really want anyway. I mean, one of the things that we used to do right when COVID started was within my coaches group, we just started like a happy hour where we just got together and hung out, because people are going to be, if things continue where they're going, lots of states are closing again.
Yeah,
It's like we're going to have to find some sort of outlet, you know,
for sure.
and it is possible to develop a strong online community in that sense.
Okay.
Like my online community connected to my coaches group is bustling all the time. People are always asking questions. And there was a time when I was traveling all the time and I was basically on a plane every Friday and Sunday. And I'd get on the plane, get off the plane. I'd be like, holy moly, everyone's like lots of stuff going on. So it is possible to create a bustling online community that's going to keep each other accountable and they're going to have fun with it. So you
Okay.
just kind of have to figure out what your niche is.
Okay.
That's a big thing. I feel like every
Yeah.
business should have a niche and find your people instead of trying to cast such a wide net all the time.
Right.
You know, quality versus quantity.
Okay.
And the other thing I would say too is if you want to, the fitness industry is so saturated right now, right? I mean everyone and their mother is a fitness expert now, you know?
Yeah.
And so
I
it's really
know.
important to find something that is unique to you
Okay.
and then really just milking that and then find the right people to fit that community.
Okay.
Because I'm sure that you've seen like even in-person gyms, you can have one person who brings down the entire group, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so
Hmm.
the big thing is being protective of your culture.
Okay.
And you first need to define your culture. So define your culture. What do you want the culture
Hmm.
to look like? And then start finding more people that fit that culture.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
going from
that's
there.
our name, persistence culture. So we
There it is.
we've kind of built that, So we have built that, what we're about and things like that. It's just now I need to make sure that I, fulfill that in providing the best coaching that I can to those members that maybe, may go into the gym. It's the same as them coming in online too. I mean, I have a passion. I do feel I have a really, I do connect well with others. I feel like I have that ability. I just want to make sure that the knowledge comes out. I'm very big. I'm like constantly wanting to learn, you know, seminars and the mobility and the nutrition side. So I'm always wanting to make sure I'm continuing my learning. Um, One thing I do worry is what I wanted to ask you too is I think coaching higher athletes
Hmm.
as well. Like there's always, it's a little, nervous, or, they may not be so receptive towards you. How do you overcome that too? I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, we covered that quite a bit in episode one, which I haven't
Okay.
posted just yet. So by
Okay.
the time this video goes live, that one will be up.
Oh, okay.
So I'll let you know when it comes out, and I'll send it to you. But the
All
short
right.
answer of it is just to keep learning. Like
Yeah.
and we talked about, the level one seminar would teach you very basic cues: knees out, heels down, chest
Right.
up, all those things. They're great cues for a beginner, but I would not hang your hat on that.
Right.
If like Dave Castro or Camilo LeBlanc Bazinet or Austin Malleolo or James Hobart walk into your gym, you better be equipped to give them cues. And I use their
Right.
names because everyone except for Camille has walked through my doors in my gym. I had Dave in my gym one time, and I remember just being like, should I cue him? I can see something. I don't know, but even good movers can get better.
Right.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
you can only help them get better if you have more tools in your belt.
Okay.
So I always tell people that don't be complacent with just the level one. Like if you're
Oh, yeah.
coaching regularly for 6 months to a year, go take your level two before you have to, because
Okay.
you don't want to wait 5 years to be told you're a terrible coach. And
Okay.
I hate to say it, I've seen a lot of people come through the level two, and it's like, you own a gym? What? What? Like, hey, teach the squat. Okay. And then they're done in 2 minutes. You're like, you didn't see this, that, and the other. And they're like, no. The way that I like to explain it is the level one teaches you the knowledge,
Right.
the level two teaches you how to teach the knowledge.
Okay.
That's an important distinction that I don't feel like people quite appreciate. Like, that's huge. Like, I mean, have you ever known someone who was absolutely brilliant but a terrible teacher?
Yes.
My dad. My dad is so smart. My dad, he speaks like four languages, he's at 5 degrees, or not 5 degrees, but literally like a doctor and this and that and this and that. But he and I are the exact opposite. He's the most awful teacher ever. He just gets impatient and says, I'll just do it myself. You know? So I highly encourage you, if you haven't done the
Okay.
level two yet, to go do it.
That's my next step. I definitely, and unfortunately, I'm already coming on what, 4 years.
Yeah.
So that is my next step. I really, really want to work towards getting my level two before, like you said, it's almost at the 5 year mark. I think not this year, but the following
It'll be
year.
April of next
Yeah,
year. Next year.
2022, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah.
So that is on my plate for sure. And I'll keep that in mind to make sure that I don't wait to the last minute when I have to.
Yeah, do it sooner
Um,
than later, because
yeah.
it'll blow your mind. Like, when I went to mine, I was like, wow. And I only waited a year to go to mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like not even like just barely over a year. Just barely over a year. I went 13 months after. Um,
Okay.
but it really opened my eyes to like, wow, I've been teaching this wrong for a whole year.
Okay.
That's,
Yeah.
and continuing your education. So for me, like, so I've taught the CrossFit seminars. I teach the CrossFit seminars, teach the weightlifting seminars. For a long time, I was studying as much Olympic weightlifting as I could. I was like, studying from everybody, even the people you disagree with. Why?
Okay.
Because sometimes another perspective is useful. Like you can see, okay, I don't quite agree with that, but I can agree with this bit. You know, um, I started doing the NASM personal training certification, which is it's very different from CrossFit, but at the same time very similar.
What is it again?
NASM, NASM.
So I just started that.
Yeah, there's certain things
Okay.
in there that I'm like,
I
but then some of the stuff was like, oh, because if you look at, like, for instance, okay, in CrossFit we teach mechanics, consistency, intensity, right?
right.
And in NASM they talk about stability. It's like stability, and then strength
Power.
endurance,
Power.
and then and then power was last.
Oh, okay.
So it's like there's 3 tiers. I can't even remember anymore, but it's very similar to mechanics, consistency, intensity. So like we
Right.
do the stabilization, then we build the strength for endurance, and then for strength, and then stability strength, and then there's power strength, right? It's the basic same idea, but it's explained a different way. Oh, and the hypertrophy phase and all that stuff, and all of those things we see in CrossFit too. We just don't talk about them as much.
Right.
So it's interesting because here's a phrase I love to throw at people all the time. I stole this from my coach Julian. It's like, Memorization is not learning. Learning is learning. There
Okay.
are a lot of people who memorize things, but they don't understand what it means or why it is that it is. Like, why do we want knees out in the squat?
Right.
We teach that in a very basic sense at the level one, but at the end of the day, if the knees cave in during the squat, knees out will fix it, but it's really more of a band-aid and doesn't actually address the underlying issue as to why the knees caved in the first place.
Right.
Makes sense? So being more than a one-trick pony is important. So
Okay, that makes me feel so much better. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I had told my husband, I was like, I had a friend that just did it. She was a level 1, 2 in CrossFit, and I kind of was getting her opinion on it. She's like, you know what, it'll blow your mind. Like it's completely different than the level one. Um, so I just recently started it. I'm like on the beginning of it,
mhm,
and in my head, I'm like, should I have done this? Is it like
no,
kind of like,
fun.
but I was like, but now, okay, that makes me feel better. Like I'm not like,
You're not a traitor at all.
you
It
know,
basically what it does is I mean, because a lot of the things that they teach are very similar, but just worded differently.
just different. Okay.
And there are a
That's what I
couple
was
things.
worried about, that it was the exact same thing, but like almost like, I not that I don't want to say I wasn't going to learn anything, but I just want to make sure I wasn't like doing it for no reason, like
Yeah,
in my heart, I was like, I'm going to learn something new. And there's nothing wrong with learning anything new. I'm not going to, nothing negative is going to come out of it. But okay, that makes me feel
yeah. I would just be
better.
careful because there are certain things where when I would take the practice test, I was like, oh, I definitely don't agree with that, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
answer it that way because I know they want me to answer it this way.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, I mean, one in particular is I'm not a fan of foam rolling before training, and that's one of the things that they teach to do. I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I've studied a lot of things. I studied,
Okay.
no, I did, I've been doing CrossFit for 13 years. I did Olympic weightlifting, studied different styles, Chinese. I mean, the Chinese method of weightlifting is an interesting one to look at.
Hmm.
There's lots of different styles of weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman. I did the Ido Portal method a little bit.
Okay.
I'm familiar with that. I did gymnastic bodies for a while. I did Callus Athletics weightlifting. I did shoot. I mean, I'm really deep in with the strong fit principles right now, playing around with that stuff.
Okay.
Uh, I studied a little bit of everything and everybody
So
because
it's just
go ahead.
learn, just be knowledgeable is, I guess, is key, right? It's
Yeah,
golden to.
yeah. The way I look at it is the more arrows you have in your quiver, the more effective you're going to be as a coach.
Okay.
Because believe it or not, sometimes you'll get somebody who breaks all the rules, and you're like, now what? So sometimes I'll like pull this random cue out of my back pocket and I go, I don't know if this is gonna work, but let's try this. And you're like, oh, okay, well there it is. Remember that for next time. So, but again, if your only cues are knees out, chest up, heels down, what good are you to anybody?
Right.
Like
Okay.
you're gonna be good for the bare bones, very beginner
Beginner.
mover. But yeah,
Okay.
cool. Any other questions?
Awesome.
This time went
Um,
by pretty fast.
I know. I knew the 30 minutes. I had a lot of questions, but you pretty much hit what I wanted to talk about today.
Yeah.
I wanted to say thank you very much. I truly appreciate you taking the time. I definitely don't take it for granted, for
Yeah,
sure.
thanks for
I
hanging out.
appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, take
All
care.
right. You have a great day. Bye.
You too.